Good morning. It is Tuesday today, and I think it's the 6th of November. But one thing I do know, it is the US election day, because that's all I saw my parents looking at yesterday in the news when I went to visit them. So let's talk about something far more meaningful and important than the clowns on media at the moment. And I haven't been in my garden for a couple of weeks properly, like doing anything, and I've just left it to do its own thing. And sometimes, that's not a bad idea. We're still very warm and mild for this time of year. I know there are a lot of gardeners that spend all their time all day, every day in the garden and over the winter, and that's great. I am slightly different because I do other things in my way of life which involve many other duties and commitments and interests, so they're varied. So over the winter, at this stage, because that changes all the time, my perspective changes all the time, at this stage this is what I am doing in the garden. But I want to show you these mustard greens. There were two types that I had sown directly into the ground in the greenhouse, because my greenhouse, as you can see, is actually inside, it's just the bare earth, and it was concrete around the sides which created the structure for the glass greenhouse to sit on. Now this is one of the mustard greens, and these do really well in the winter. And of course, hang on, let me just see what this was. Yeah, green mustard greens. And here is the leaf. Now, I have tried one earlier and it's amazing to taste, and it's got that rich mustard flavour. And I know in our Indian Indo-Pakistani culture, they cook spinach, or saag, I think they call it. We call it balak, but they use different types of greens, and the particular green vegetable dish that is cooked with mustard greens has that mustardy taste, and it's delicious. It's sharp, and you can just imagine, these are heritage heirloom ones, the nutrition that's in them. For me, I mean, I'm enjoying eating that raw, but I would gently steam cook it with spices and have it with a nice hot chapati. I know many of you who are from the Indo-Pakistani culture will know exactly what I mean, but nothing beats, this is the point, it's not even a question of beating, it's about nutrition. And when you have it coming out of your own ground, your own soil, that you have nurtured, that you have fed, whether it's from the animals in your garden or just recycling, as you can see, recycling all your organic matter, then you are putting quality nutrition into your body, and that's the key. Now, when I go back, you can see there are so many of these green leaves coming out in plants, and I need to thin them because each one will grow into quite a big plant. So I am going to have to do that sometime in the next few days before it does get too cold. And I will try taking some of these out and putting them into the central reservation here. You can see here, these are the mustard that's, not mustard, what am I talking about? The fenugreek that I planted that's been growing, and which is also a soil fixer, nitrogen fixer in the soil. So I'm going to cut some of that off and use it. This is just fresh fenugreek, which can be used in the same green dish. And then I'm going to plant some of these mustard greens out here. And also here, I had planted spinach here, but none of it worked. That was a mistake. Maybe some did. I don't know what's spinach and what isn't, but I may plant some here as well into different parts, which some parts which may be protected. What I might do with this central is, once I've planted the mustard greens, I might put a cloche over the top just to protect them from the frost, so I'll do what I can. Now over here you can see, you know, there's lots of weeds, and I'm not taking the weeds, taking the weeds out, because over the winter period I don't want bare soil, as I've said, so I've left leaves and I've left weeds because their roots will break down the soil underneath, and I'll deal with it in the spring. But these beetroot are doing really well. They're getting quite big, and I may harvest them. Actually, I don't know how long they can stay in the soil for. If any of you know, let me know, but I will have to check. But really for me, that's most important. I've got the leeks, I've got the greens, and the more I think about it, the recognition that next year I really need to focus on the crops that I eat most and that are nutritious. Onions, garlic, ginger. Garlic and ginger I need to get better at. Do not have enough experience on that and haven't been successful with garlic. Ginger I've never tried. Well, I tried once and I failed miserably. So, and the other thing about November is that a lot of this is where the seeds are now ready to sell with a lot of these seed companies like Real Seeds that I've talked to you about before. So one of the things I'm going to do this week or next week is which I've shared with you in earlier videos some months back. I shared how I use this basket. I'm going to empty out my dining table, which has actually become a study table at the moment, but I'm going to empty it out, put all the seeds out, get my notebook out. If you recall, when I actually sowed all the seeds last year, I had a notebook of what I'm sowing, when I'm sowing, and what happened, and which ones were successful or not. Recording this type of information is very, very important because it saves you time later. So that information is going to come in handy, and I'll share that with you in a video, and then I'll sit down and I'll order the seeds that I want for next season, for spring, next spring. And really focus on where I'm putting it, what I'm growing, and hopefully next year I might start to collect some seeds. If you remember, I also planted a load of bulbs for next spring. Well, we've had really mild weather and it's crazy, and I know some of you that plant bulbs will know, but they're already beginning to emerge, and it's only the beginning of November. So some of the early spring bulbs, these are the irises, they're all out in the pots. It's just crazy. But also over here, where the squirrels have managed to get in, you've got muscari and other types of bulbs that you can see here, they're shooting out. It's just mad. This one isn't yet. Some of them in here are. Look, there's a little one here shooting out. Can't remember what's in here. Again, muscari, narcissus, daffodils. It's crazy. Over here now, here's another thing. I've no idea why these flowers are still coming up, but this is coriander. And I've been snipping off this coriander and using it in food. And one thing I've learned through experience is that coriander actually likes quite cool weather. This is a really good time, I would say to you, to plant coriander. So I'm going to get a whole load of seeds. I've got coriander seeds. You may recall, for those who watch everything will know, because I throw tips into videos, which actually are very useful tips if you remember them. But if you remember, I explained about coriander seeds that I found that if you use the darker coriander seeds, the small dark ones, they grow better. And actually that was a tip from my mum. And so I had gone to these aren't organic and heirloom, doesn't matter, you don't have to be perfect, but I'd gone to the Indian grocers and I'd picked up the slightly more expensive coriander seeds, which were they're dark green, I think they're from Romanian seeds, and I just soak them in water, and I just leave them in water, soak them. If the water's getting a bit smelly, I pour it out and put more filtered water on there. I use a filter, and then after a week or so just throw them into the ground and cover them with the soil, and they grow. So do that. So get a handful out now, and if you do this every month, which I haven't done but I will do now because it's still mild, get a handful out, soak them, and then put them into the soil. but put them somewhere where they're sheltered, because we are going to get frosts and they don't like that. But this kind of weather, it's really mild. It's not too sunny, so they're not going to bolt. It's really good. And you'll just have a supply of dhania, fresh dhania, coriander growing. I'm going to tidy up the garden. There's everywhere. Look, these marigolds and these beautiful dahlias, pom-pom. Don't they look stunning? I keep talking about them, but I'm just going to tidy up the garden, remove the leaves, and probably put the leaves over the soil to protect the soil, and just some basic housekeeping for the garden. And of course, never forget, while you are in the garden, quietly getting on with your business in the garden, that's when ideas come into your mind. This is when ideas come, your creative expression starts to swell. All of my ideas have come out when I'm in nature, either walking in the woods or in the garden. Very rarely does my creative expression flare when I'm sitting in the house. It's always outdoors, or sometimes looking outside. But I'm not saying that you can't be creative in the house, but most of my inspiration comes from when I'm outdoors. That's just a fact. So there's a reason why nature is so magical, and it's not just about healing our physical bodies. It's our mental, emotional, spiritual beings that light up. Of course, light is very important. The sun is very important, and you are getting sun. Even though the sun's not there, it's much better if you can see the sun, but you are getting sunlight if you wake up at the right times and follow the light, the dark light cycle. There's no exception to that. Those people that live with the circadian rhythm, dark light, are far more intelligent and know what I mean by intelligence than those that don't. There is an insight that one is able to harness when one is living with nature's rhythms. And I repeat this every single time. I try to articulate it in words that hopefully move your heart space. But those who do that consistently recognize exactly what I mean. And in many ways it's beyond, well, it is beyond explanation. It's not something you can reason and find logic in. It's beyond that. And that's the metaphysical nature of reality, because metaphysics is a study of the real. It's not something that can be explained. It's felt. It's a knowing that's felt, and that's the truth. Nobody can tell me that that is not a truth, because I know, I feel it. And those that do feel it, and many people do in fits and starts, but still don't recognise what it is. You know, now and again, what was that? Oh, then their mind comes in and says, that's just nonsense. No, it isn't nonsense. Regard and pay attention to those times, because symbolism and metaphor is an absolute truth, and it's a way to truth which has been hijacked since the time of the Renaissance period, when progress and technology came in. Of course, we know that really isn't progress. Look at the state of the world today. We're dumb and more stupider than ever before. It's just beyond recognition. Oh. Okay, so that's my little talk for today, and have a good day. Don't forget to get your bone broths on and your soups, and watch the Instagram stories that I put up, because I'm putting up some really useful things up there that I can't put up on YouTube. It's easier on Instagram. So just pop in and have a look at the stories, not every day, but I put up kind of stories which 3 or 4 in a go, which a few bits of, it's all education. Everything I do is to teach, learn, teach and serve. That if you watch consistently over a period of time, you'll be able to utilize those tools if they have meaning to you in your own life. And of course, the evidence isn't just by reading books. that's important, but it's not key. Just reading books and applying what you've read is in science. It's actually applying them to life and your own creation to life and your own ideas. That's the real truth. So anecdotal evidence, when it's consistent, is really what I would say that you should be paying more attention to, rather than a textbook or what somebody says because they are known to be the king of broths or the king of soups. Don't pay any attention to that. Do the research yourself and find out for yourself. You are the king of your own life. Understand that. Not me, not anyone else. I'm just here to guide or maybe pass on a message. That's what we're all here to do. Not just me, all of us. When we're linked to the right frequency, that message will be of value and meaning. If you're living from the wrong frequency of ego or needing to be validated, or even from the frequency which is where most people live, be careful. Go within, go out into nature, and that's where you will find the answers if you're consistent and regular at doing so. Have a lovely day.